Good morning. In the previous video titled "A High After Meal Blood Sugar Leads to Several Common Diseases," I discussed that a blood sugar of more than 155 milligrams per deciliter or 8.6 millimoles per liter can lead to several common and deadly diseases like cardiovascular disease, strokes, hypertension, type 2 diabetes, and kidney failure. Blood sugar, or glucose, is the end product of carbohydrate digestion. Bread, rice, noodles, and pasta eventually become glucose. Paracelsus is a Swiss physician in the 15th century. He is commonly quoted as saying that the poison is in the dose. Too much of anything is bad for the body. Too much sun, water intoxication, alcohol intoxication can all happen. The most common causes of overdose in the emergency room are due to acetaminophen or paracetamol and aspirin. If you believe that food is medicine and you know that you can overdose with medicine, then that means you can overdose with food. What is not commonly known is that many get overdosed with glucose every day. In this video, I'm going to show you the studies that shows that high blood sugar can cause arterial damage and make the immune system more inflammatory, and these changes can last for years. High blood sugar can also start and accelerate atherosclerosis, and it prevents atherosclerotic plaque regression. The first study is from Cardiovascular Diabetology, published in 2009, and it's entitled Post-prandial Hyperglycemia as an Etiological Factor in Vascular Failure. Back in 2019, I wrote this article called The Magical Endothelium on my website, drjessesantiano.com. So let's say you're sitting in a European cafe on the sidewalk and you're looking at a brick road. And then suddenly, well, not suddenly, but the number of vehicles started to increase. And you notice that the street became wider as the vehicles increase. And as rush hour passed by, it started to get smaller again, back to its normal size. You also notice that when some people threw trash out of their windows, that the brick road will clean it up by itself. And if a heavy truck comes in and starts to produce cracks on the bricks, then the bricks magically repairs itself without any outside intervention. That magical brick road exists, and it is in the inner lining of our arteries or blood vessels. And here it is, the endothelium. This is a cross-section of a blood vessel. Those repair functions are possible because of a presence of nitric oxide that the cells produce themselves. And that's how it can expand and contract, and it can repair itself and clean itself. However, a high blood sugar damages the inner lining of these blood vessels and sets up inflammation, an abnormal increase in cells called proliferation, and the blood actually tends to clot more easily. The other thing is that it increases or decreases the size of the arteries, and thus increases the pressure and makes the heart work harder. That's a condition commonly known as hypertension. Back to that magical brick road. If the normal repair systems are gone, that brick road or the arteries gets damaged, and then you must hire expensive workers. And in the case of our endothelium, it is prescription drugs. However, you may not have enough money or insurance to pay for them. What's worse, they don't do a good job because they don't solve the underlying problem of high blood sugar after eating. High blood sugar also produces free radicals that damage DNA, proteins, lipids, and fat, and worsen inflammation. Normally, in our body, all the molecules are supposed to be electrically neutral, meaning the positive and the negative charges are equal. However, if there's more negative charges, then that molecule becomes unstable and starts to damage the surrounding molecules or even the cells. This is a Korean barbecue, and the browning is secondary to a Maillard reaction. High blood sugar can barbecue our body, including the arteries and organs like the kidneys, through the production of advanced products of glycation, or AGEs. That's what the Maillard reaction produces. AGEs prevent the blood vessels from repairing themselves and affects the organs like the brain, lungs, hearts, and kidney. A high blood sugar can also cause a long-lasting change in the immune system called the metabolic memory or legacy effect. Metabolic memory results in persistently high rates of cardiovascular complications in people with diabetes despite intensive glucose control. High blood sugar alters the gene's functions in the bone marrow stem cells. Stem cells are cells that can transform into other specialized cells like the white blood cells called the monocytes and the macrophages. Metabolic memory makes the white blood cells become highly inflammatory. Many studies have demonstrated the metabolic memory. One is the Diabetes Control and Complication Trial in 1987, the Epidemiology of Diabetes Interventions and Complications in 1994, the United Kingdom Prospective Study in 1999, and the Veterans Affairs Diabetes Trial in 2009. Metabolic memory explains various diabetes-associated complications like cardiovascular diseases. This study was made by Edgar et al. Titled Hyperglycemia Induces Strained Immunity in Macrophages and Their Precursors and Promotes Atherosclerosis. It is published in Circulation in July 2021. Another study that demonstrated the mechanism underlying metabolic memory is the hyperglycemic memory of innate immune cells promotes in vitro pro-inflammatory responses of human monocytes and murine macrophages. It is published in the Journal of Immunology in February 2021. The third study shows the relationship between high blood sugar and atherosclerosis. The title is Transient Intermittent Hyperglycemia Accelerates Atherosclerosis by Promoting Myelopoiesis. Myelopoiesis is the production of white blood cells in the bone marrow. It was published in Circulation Research in June 2020. By now, many will be asking, if my immune system already has metabolic memory due to previous high blood sugar episodes, is it worthwhile to control my after-meal blood sugars? I'm glad you asked. The answer is provided by the authors from this study, Hyperglycemia Induces Strained Immunity. The answer is yes. Repeated high blood sugar can worsen metabolic memory and lead to earlier onset of acute illnesses like heart attacks, strokes, and diabetes complications. The reverse is also true. If we can minimize the episodes that our body is exposed to high blood sugar, we can delay the associated diseases and diabetic complications. The time after we eat is also called the post-prandial period. So depending on the amount of food, the post-prandial period can last 4 to 5 hours. In a 24-hour period, depending on the size of a meal, if someone has 3 meals a day, the total post-prandial period or after-meal period could be from 15 to 16 hours. If there are snacks in between, the duration can be longer and the blood sugar levels could be higher. And during that time that those blood sugars are high, then the damage is being done on the arteries and also in the immune system. In the studies, the macrophages were soaked in high glucose concentrations from 1 to 5 days. Let's go back to the study made by Node and Inoue, postprandial hyperglycemia as an etiological factor in vascular failure. In their graphical abstract, they represented the effects of glucose spikes as a big giant wave. And the result of the glucose spike is inflammation, oxidative stress, and it damages the endothelium, or the inner lining of the arteries, and the result is cardiovascular events like strokes and heart attacks. This wave comes in several times a day. Can happen in breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and sometimes snacks in between. This is a video from the 2011 tsunami in Japan. Tsunamis destroy everything in their path, or everybody in its path. It doesn't care who you are, doesn't care what you know, doesn't care who you know, doesn't care about your level of education, how much money you have, how high you are in the corporate ladder, what religion you have. It will destroy you. And it's the same with high blood sugars, and that's because it is just physiology. Probably there'll be a few that will be able to escape to the higher ground because of their genetics, but in general, it can destroy everyone's body. But I don't want to end on that negative note. Is there anything we can do to get around that metabolic memory and reduce our inflammatory state? So here's a randomized controlled trial published in Clinical Epigenetics in 2019. The title is The Impact of a Diet and Activity Health Promotion Intervention on Regional Patterns of DNA Methylation. Methylation happens in our DNA, and the presence or absence of methylation can turn a gene on or off. It's just like a light switch. So just because you have the genes for something doesn't mean it will be expressed depending on the lifestyle in your body. If somebody can turn it off, like food or lifestyle, then it can change. The study found that if you do the following, which you probably already know, if you eat more fruits and vegetables, if you exercise, and if we increase our sleep and decrease our stress, then good things happens to the body. They found that 12 weeks of lower carbohydrate diet of fruits and vegetables and exercise were associated with the expression of genes that can decrease the risk of inflammation, cancer, and chronic diseases. To recap, high blood sugars can damage the arteries and alter the immune system to cause body-wide inflammation. These changes lead to common diseases that are the top 10 causes of deaths in the whole world. So these are the leading causes of deaths globally back in 2019 and 2000 before COVID-19. So ischemic heart disease, stroke, COPD, which is also related to systemic inflammation, lower respiratory tract infections are usually because of poor immune system, and also if they have diabetes. Neonatal conditions are related to babies that are less than 30 days old, and cancers, Alzheimer's disease, which are also related to inflammation, and diarrhea, diabetes, and kidney diseases. So if you look at it, more than 50% of the top 10 causes of death are related to systemic inflammation. If you have any questions, please write them in the comments below. And if you think someone else may benefit from this presentation, or if they may learn something important from this presentation, please share it to them. You may be able to save their lives someday. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, or have a good night, and watch out for my next video, which will be about how to lower your after meal blood sugar just by rearranging the patterns of your vegetable, meat, and carbohydrates in your meals.